Our son Jerry, who is 13, has a condition known as Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and that's why I'm here today. In our case, or certainly in my own case, it did take a year or two, and then to kind of settle with it somewhat.
Some of the common reactions that families have when they receive any diagnosis, which is difficult, is first confusion about what it actually means, and as well as some disbelief and perhaps even shock. You may also find that you don't want to accept the diagnosis, so there may actually be some resistance to even accepting it as a diagnosis. A lot of parents ask me, when is the right time to tell my child about the diagnosis? And I usually tell them the best time to tell a child about a diagnosis that affects them is soon after you find out. If you haven't done that, the next best time is now. There really won't be a good time in the future, and you can't go back and do what you hadn't done already. A lot of time parents want to know, what do I tell my child? Well, first off, it depends on what you already know. If you're not sure of the diagnosis or it's just suspected, then I think it's fine to just tell the child that there are concerns about why they're having difficulty walking, for example, and the doctors are looking into the reasons for that, and they've done this test, and we'll have more information, and you'll share it when you know that. When you do explain the diagnosis to your child, I think it's important that you realize you're not trying to share all the information with them. What you're trying to do is help them understand what is going on and what you're concerned about.
You see your child, and you see them doing and feeling and being all the things that they are and have a right to be. And that's your answer. So that was the kind of like, sure, look, there he is, having the life of Riley, his friends, his life, his toys, his dog. So it's when you come out of that stupor of the first, it could be months for some people, in my case it was a year or two, and you realise he was there all the time, and he is there now. And I think that is where you shake off that kind of blinker that you have on with the shock.
Frequently I'm told by parents that they understandably don't want to share bad news with their children. They don't want to frighten them and may think that they're not able to understand what it means. But not talking to children about their health and well-being doesn't protect them from the bad situation. It only prevents them from understanding and ultimately coping.
So I'm Patrick Flanagan, I'm 30 years old. I have limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, and I'm here supposed to talk about my experience of life with LGMD. I think one thing that can make it easier to manage coping with the condition is having family and friends and more people around you to sort of help with maybe what we might call kind of the grieving stage of dealing with a diagnosis, like any diagnosis, and being able to ask for that help, being able to look for that, I think is really important as well. So to make sure that you do what you can, but when you do need that help, when you do need that support, or your child does, is that you're able to ask for that help and go see what you need.
Parent organizations and other organizations that support families of children with muscular dystrophy, such as Muscular Dystrophy Ireland, can also provide very practical and concrete information.
If your child has recently had a diagnosis of muscular dystrophy, you will have been perhaps given information about Muscular Dystrophy Ireland by the consultant, or perhaps by a specialist nurse in the clinic, sometimes by a GP. I tend to focus not on the detail of things and the whats and whys, but rather on building a relationship, because that's the foundation for all the services we offer. If there isn't a relationship, people are not going to contact us when they're in distress or when they're delighted about something.
Children need to learn to cope with difficult news, not to just ignore it or pretend it doesn't exist. So the only way they can really learn how to cope with distress is if they see that coping modeled by their parents. So it's okay to be a little choked up or to appear a little bit sad, as long as you're able to continue the conversation and help your child learn how to cope with those feelings.
opportunities that maybe aren't going to present themselves in life are going to be replaced by other opportunities. And so things to be able to come talk to you guys on camera is pretty cool. In terms of a regular day that I'll go about it, I can't speak too much to, obviously I don't know too much about other people's experiences, but I imagine my day is the same as most people. So it's just finding the angle, it's finding the approach that lets you do the things you want to do.
So that's the main service we offer to very young children, is the opportunity to meet other children, to have arts and crafts workshops, to go to the cinema. My own personal philosophy is that the best way to take care of children is to take care of their mother or father. And so I tend to really focus myself on my relationship with the parents. So the family support service is relationship-based, supporting parents, and the youth service is relationship-based also, but focus more on the children. Our family support services are quite broad-ranging. In some homes it will be to do with information about entitlements, information about the condition, conversations about the future, education support, so going to visit preschool, play school, primary school, secondary school and so on, meeting with teachers, SNAs. In some cases then it's attending appointments with the member. It might be emotional support, which is quite difficult to quantify, but again, it's very individual to each person.
So refreshing to see what's there, because it's not all about hospitals, it's not all about the actual body and the condition, it's about the life that all of us have, and that your child is totally entitled to. Whatever about your struggle, you have to get with it. And MDI, they make it very, very easy. They really do.